The hiatus is the off season has ended.
It has ended, and we are here with another episode of Recipe for Reality. I stopped numbering them because I'm like,
I don't
you know what?
number it is.
Yeah, I don't know what number it is. But this is our 30-something episode, and our first official episode of the season, not counting the subathon, which we had last week. So if you want to check out our video where we ranked every Big Brother episode ever, check it out on the top right up there. There we go.
It's above my head.
Yeah, we're recording in person again because we have fun doing that.
Because it's fun.
And I was home, and I just saw a show with him. We just saw
Hercules
at the Pimple Playhouse.
The Pimple Playhouse.
This is not a review on that. Don't worry.
Maybe
there's a whole
one day.
maybe one day. Maybe if
one
it transfers
day
to
we'll
Broadway,
do
we'll do a whole review. I can't tell if my hat's on the right way. We're talking Survivor. Survivor starts tonight because you're getting this Wednesday. Tonight's the premiere, and we didn't even do a video on the last Survivor. Do you want to do like 2 minutes, just devoted a minute each?
Oh, we really did.
We did our predictions, and we were wrong.
Yeah.
I was right in the fact that I thought Gabler had a shot.
Wrong.
You didn't think Gabler had a shot. I thought Gabler had a shot.
Did you win?
Oh yeah, I won.
Yeah, you
big
won,
time.
right?
But it's funny just because I thought Gabler was going to get second. I was like, yep, Gabler's going to get second, Cassidy first, Owen third. We all called Jesse at fourth and Carla at fifth. That was like miracle.
That was crazy.
Because a lot of people were like, oh, it's Jesse. But this game is too. It
was unfortunate because it is not favorable to those who
play the game best. I
right.
mean, the format of Survivor nowadays is if you are the biggest threat, you can't win the game anymore. And I think that's a good thing. That means the game is progressing and you need new strategies because now you can't have someone steamroll season. You have to have someone, you have to be the one who slays the giant, essentially. You can't be the giant. You can't be Jesse. You can't be Ricard. You can't be, who was Marianne's giant? Omar, I guess. Omar and Jonathan. Right. You can't be that. You have to be the one who slays them. Marianne slayed the giant. Erica slayed the giant, essentially. And, we see Gabler kind of, I mean, he's not the one who sends Jesse home single-handedly, but he is the one who makes fire, and he is able to at least sell it to the jury and just kind of win them over. And again, we see bitter jurors at times too, and I think there was a little bit of bitter juriness in the moment. You never know what's going to happen, and I think Cassidy just, in the moment, they didn't see the game we saw, and that's what that was. I was upset, but at the same time, on that day, Gabler won him over.
Again, it's my third season. I think it is my most disappointing of all of them.
Yeah.
Because Gabler just feels like a cop-out sort of winner. I wasn't Team Cassidy pretty much the whole time. I wasn't. I thought that Dylan was living
blowing smoke up everyone's asses.
And I was like, she's not that great. And then she pulls out a lot in the end. I mean, she pulls out in Final Immunity. She's the most, as far as I'm concerned, you don't get rid of Jesse without Cassidy.
Right.
And
because Jesse could win Final Immunity and then
right. So to get rid of Gabler, I memean, I'll give Gabler the fact that he talked his way through Final Tribal extremely well. Yep. But as far as I'm concerned, I think Gabler has a lot more money than I do now, so I can't.
Well,
really...
not anymore because he donated it all to charity.
But even still, he's won Survivor. He's played Survivor and I haven't, and he's won Survivor and I haven't. But what I will say, just overall, is I think that I think that talking your way through the jury shouldn't be the only thing that determines a vote. But I guess just this is the cast. This is what that cast was. It was whoever spoke better earned their vote.
Yeah, and we saw even Marianne and Mike, I think both very deserving, but Marianne sold her case better than Mike. I think Mike played a better game in getting to the end, but I think Marianne sold it and had the best moves at the end. I just think the thing is Gabler doesn't have that one move you can pinpoint as his, which is why I think he's a weaker winner. But again, it was a weird season where Owen, Cassidy, and Gabler really were always kind of second in command to someone else. It was Carla, Jesse, and Cody running the show for most of the season. But those are our brief thoughts. I mean, in the moment when it happened, we were a little more heated, just because I was such a Cassidy stan, and I still am. And go support her business, Candles. I don't know the name of it, but go buy her candles. Business? She does, and she makes them herself, and they're awesome. Okay. But we're moving on to Newer Horizons, and I will say, I have not been spoiled this season, but I have heard from Jeff, not directly, but through interviews that Jeff loves
Jeff,
this
huh?
season. Jeff loves this season.
I
Probst
spoke
loves
to
this
Jeff
season.
personally myself. He said he likes it a lot.
Jeff, we were on the phone earlier, and he's a big fan of this season coming up. He's throwing a little shade to 43, but I think 43 I thought was a good season. I thought Jesse's whole arc was really good. I think the outcome at the end was not as favorable, but I think the overall journey there, I thought everyone was well edited. There was no character I didn't know. So I thought it was a strong season, and then for him to say that this one's even better and one of his favorite seasons, and he's going to be very happy with, he's very excited to see other people be as happy as he is. Like, I have faith that this is going to be an awesome season.
Right.
And looking at this cast, I think it's an awesome cast. So I'm very excited to break it down.
Listen, I mean, in all honesty, it's got some, I can't pinpoint someone who I think is a first boot, right? Just like off the bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and normally I feel like there's at least one or two that are kind of like blatantly obvious. But the thing is, I think they've done a pretty good job at hiding the potential first boots in the interviews of making someone seem a little bit more airheaded or a little bit more unthreatening than they actually are. So, like, I mean, I'm looking at the pictures right now, just so everyone knows. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, right, Maddie looks or speaks on her interview like a classic first boot. Because she just kind of comes off a bit clueless in terms of how to play the game. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she's a first boot again.
Right. Because all it takes for her tribe to win every challenge, like Erica's did. Right. And I think that goes into play with the modern era. There's no tribe swaps. It's still, essentially this is going back to old school where we've seen a lot of, especially last season, a lot of the weaker players physically go home early. Right. And it used to be different because it used to be that you would swap, there were 18 people, you would swap at 16 or 15. So it was like, you can get rid of a strong person because you would swap the very next day. Nowadays, you can't do that because you have to get rid of the weaker people. That's why we see, not Mariah, what was her name? The first boot of this most recent season, colorful hair. She goes home first. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But she goes home first. She goes home first because she's just the weakest on her tribe, and that tribe is tight, but she's the weakest, and Gabler has immunity. And you look at season before, and Zach goes home because he almost played too hard. He was not the weakest on his tribe necessarily physically.
Too hard,
I would say
fast.
Romeo was the weakest, but he was the one who was in front, and they just wanted to get rid of that chaos. And then the season before, Abraham goes home first, strictly just because he's the old guy and he didn't really fit in. So you see three examples: not fitting in, because of age, and then you see weakness, and then you just see overall paranoia and playing the game too hard, too fast. That's three different first boots. So I really don't think you can pinpoint a first boot. But our job today is to just kind of go through the cast, give us our first impressions, and then kind of talk about where we think at the end, kind of give our rankings. I've already solidified my rankings, so if you want to write it down as we go, you can. We're surrounded by a beautiful craft closet. I wish you guys can see it.
The lighting has never looked better. Am I right? The lighting looks great.
The lighting looks good.
Sponsored by my wife. Thanks, babe.
Yeah, but let's start at the top with this Tika tribe. Tika tribe, who is seemingly wearing purple. We have Carolyn Wiggler. We have Helen Lee, Sarah Wade, Bruce Peralt, Carson Garrett, and Yamil Arocho. So let's start with Carolyn, because Carolyn, I think, is one of the biggest talking points just amongst the Survivor community. Carolyn is a character. She says, that she wants to play kind of like Sandra. She wants to be a little bit more loud and in your face, but she knows that she is more of a Nora. And Nora, for those who've seen Nora's season, chaotic, crazy character out there, should not go far in the game, but goes because no one sees her as a threat.
She's gonna go far.
No one sees her as a threat and takes her to the end because they think they can beat her. And I don't think Carolyn can win. And I'm going to say this right now. I think Carolyn's the type of person that if she's sitting in the end, she's going to find a way to talk herself out of a win just by being too much. But I think that's going to actually work for her because I think people are going to want to take someone who's more loyal and a little chaotic than someone who's under the radar who could beat you at the end, because Carolyn's someone who very visibly, you want to be around just because she's entertaining, kind of like a Marianne in a way. She's entertaining to see, to be around, to experience without being too extra where you just need her out. She's not a cancer to the tribe.
She's in far too much promotional material to go out first. So I immediately taken off of any first boot. I think she's an easy jury a clear jury winner, unless she not jury winner, clearly a lock for the merge, because again, it's one of those things where if you keep chaos, there's no reason to get rid. Why would you ever be at the forefront of anybody's mind? She's a great shadow. She's a great shield to be behind. I don't know if I necessarily agree that she would not be able to talk her way into a win. What I do think.
And just for starters, I've done all the written interviews. He's watched the interviews. So he's going off of video and I'm going off of written. I think when you hear a person speak, you get a much better sense of who they are.
Right.
So I think he's going to be a little bit more tuned into these castaways than I am.
Not much, but I will be.
But I also have the knowledge of Survivor to like kind of pull from.
And that's the
so
thing,
I think that's
right,
where we're both going to come from this. Yeah.
I think Carolyn is clearly personable and a people person. And again, look at I can go say it, right? Look at Gabler. Gabler, the guy who, is he the most well-spoken individual? Probably not, but
and people didn't like him for a while.
You know what he is passionate, and what Carolyn has is passion, and that's huge, right?
Yeah.
In a game like this, passion above all else sometimes is enough to seal the deal, whether you're sitting in the jury and you're voting for somebody and you're or somebody's looking to get you out, you're more passionate, or it's more of a reason for someone to bring you to the end because they'd rather play with you that way.
Well, and another thing is she is the biggest super fan on the show. If you just look at knowledge of Survivor,
and she tweets all the time.
She's 35, so she's a little older, which could work against. But I'm looking at this tribe, and this looks like
they're all pretty.
There's like 3 visibly older people, and then like 2 younger people, and then like one who's like kind of in the middle. Like I think Carolyn's gonna fit in better on this tribe than she would some other tribes. The only thing is she says she's passionate. She's a little bit loud and she's open. A little bit loud is the only reason why I could see it maybe being an issue, but I don't see her being loud in a villainous way. I think it could be like kind of a Tiffany, but even a sweeter version of Tiffany. Right. But Tiffany was the vote that happened right after Sydney. She was like the merge boot essentially. So Tiffany went earlier than we expected. So I'm still cautious about Carolyn, but I do like her. Let's move on to Helen now. It's funny. I got to like scroll through it and find her, but Helen, also on the tribe, she's like kind of in the middle of the age gaps. Like she's not the oldest, not the youngest. There we go. She's 29. So she's like right on the gap. I think 30 is like the ideal age to play Survivor. She's a product manager. She just seems very welcoming, very like you can approach her. She's very approachable. She gives me Erica vibes. It's
funny that you should say that because in her interview, she talks about Erica. And I'm not even kidding. That is who she mentions.
Identify with Erica. We're both small Asian women who can play underestimated. I mean, that's great.
The one thing that makes me a little bit nervous about Helen is that, and this is like in any CBS show, right? I guess not any, because Amazing Race is different. Yeah. But in a show, in Survivor and Big Brother, what everyone likes to say in their pre-show interview is always like, my social game, I'm sociable. I'm a social butterfly. It's my socialness. It's always the people who talk social that think they're going to have the best handle on the game. When in reality, sometimes relying on your social too much is not what you need to be thinking about. What you need to be thinking about is your ability to integrate, right? Integrate and not necessarily charm. That's a word that that Helen uses is charm. She's like, I'm going to charm them. I'm going to make them feel like, rather than thinking I'm going to charm them, someone like Helen, what was so good about Erica is she was almost invisible for a really, really long time. Had nothing to do with how charming she was. Had everything to do with how low of a threat she was. And then all of a sudden, when she was threatening, when she was threatening or when her name was out there, people were like, well, why are you going to get rid of Erica? She hasn't done anything, right? Like, and everyone all of a sudden went to this place of like, Erica's useless to get rid of because sitting next to her in the end doesn't make any sense. So where Helen is concerned with charming, I worry that I worry that she actually will, in trying to be more social, do herself a disservice and actually put herself on people's radars. So we're not saying out loud.
Yeah, no, we'll go at the end on how we're ranking them all. But next is Sarah Wade. Sarah Wade, she's 27 from Rochester. She lives now in Chicago, management consultant. She, like, when you just look at her, just seems like, again, kind of just like this really kind of straight edge, very like, kind of solid player. Like, she's just a solid player. She's, again, in that 27 age range. She's one of the younger people, but like, she's attractive. She looks like she's going to be like friendly. She looks like she's going to get along with people. Like, I really don't think there's anything about her that sticks out as we got to get her out as a threat. She talks about how her best friend died 2 years ago, and that kind of gave her like drive and to pursue her dreams, all that stuff. I think Sarah, the only issue for Sarah that I foresee happening is not the Lindsay thing in the sense where Lindsay got very paranoid and went home that way. But I remember preseason, I predicted Lindsay last year as my first boot, right? And I said it's because she's the most normal person on that tribe. You look at this tribe on paper, you look at them. Carolyn's a big personality. Yam Yam, who we'll talk about, is a big personality. Carson is the youngest one on the season. You have Bruce, who, these people are big personalities where I feel like Sarah, her downfall is going to be maybe she's a little too normal. And her and Helen kind of fit that normal thing. But I think Sarah comes off as more of a striking, like, physical threat to where, like, if you want to cut someone before the merge, Sarah might be that person. Or if she gets in the merge, I think she could take it. Like, she's one of those people who, like, will either be a late pre-merge boot because she's, like, just kind of normal and doesn't really find that in with her tribe with all these big personalities, or she ends up, for those watching who watch Survivor know, Kim Spradling her way at the end, where she's just too solid and no one's threatened by her, but she's a big enough threat to where she can still kind of dictate. Like, I could see multiple paths for Sarah. I think she's, like, the most, like, ideal Survivor contestant, but I think that doesn't always work out in the modern era. What are your thoughts on Sarah?
I don't remember much about Sarah from I remember a lot about most, like, there are 18 people on this cast, and of the 18, I think there are 14 of them who I remember a good amount about because I remember how they spoke, and she's one of those that I don't really remember anything because she didn't say anything that stood out to me as memorable, which could work in her favor because sometimes to be the one in the background is a huge advantage, right? You don't want to be the person that everybody's in the front, right here in everybody's brain, because the further up you are, the harder it is to make it to the end. Because if you're right there with everyone, you are the threat. Whereas sometimes even just, I agree with you, right? I think that she's a perfect kind of like pre-merge, like right at the merge boot. I don't know if based off of just what I saw, she has enough wherewithal to convince a jury that she will be that she deserves to win.
She's almost mainly too soft-spoken.
Yeah, she doesn't have, or not even soft-spoken, just there's no drive behind it, right? And to me, that, I think by the time you get to the end, you have to be ready to say anything, everything, and all, like, and dive into everything to be able to say, like, I deserve to be here. I deserve to win at the end. I don't know if she's going to come in big enough. And that could work against her.
Well, and also the interesting thing about the modern era is that 13, you have the earn the merge. You have 6 who play against 6 and one person who now bets. We saw Noelle bet on a side and Noelle was successful. So we're going to see that again. So 13. So really only 14 through 18 is your pre-merge. It's a very shallow pre-merge in this modern era. So, like, if that tribe only loses once or twice, she might be okay. But if they lose 2 or 3 times, she could end up being someone in the pecking order. Let's move on to Bruce now. Bruce Peralt, who I believe, I don't know if Yam Yam's older or younger, but I think Bruce is the oldest one in the tribe.
Bruce is definitely older than Yam Yam.
Yeah. So my only thing with Bruce, and this is kind of what I was alluding to, just what I just said earlier, if this tribe only goes to tribal once or twice, he's the older guy, and he's not an Abraham in the way that I think he's going to be super nice and super likable. But if you look at this group, I do think if they go to tribal first, who's the weak link? I think it's either him or Carolyn, and I think Carolyn has a better strategic urge to kind of, like, get in there, whereas I think Bruce is going to be a little bit more laid back. Bruce reminds me of, like, a Roxroy or a Ryan, but not a physical asset like Ryan, and famously, Roxroy didn't have to go to tribal a lot. So I think it's going to be one of those cases where I just think Bruce, if his tribe goes to tribal early, which they might not, they could win a lot, but if Bruce goes to tribal early, I think he could be the first boot on his tribe just because he's the old guy. And between him and Carolyn, they just want to work with Carolyn because she's more charismatic. So I love Bruce, though. He's warm, he's fun. I like him.
Bruce is the first person who speaks on the cast interviews compilation that I watched. And I remember the first thing that I remember about him is that he was an orphan.
Oh, okay.
And I might be wrong. I might be using... Oh, shut up, Siri. She just said, sorry for me being an orphan. I'm not an orphan. And
he was abandoned as a child. Yep,
so,
that's correct.
Or not an orphan, but abandoned. You know what I mean?
Well, no, that's orphan. Yeah.
I guess that's orphan.
Yeah, adopted by a white family. Yeah.
I remember that story, and I remember the conviction with which he told it.
You think that gains favor?
I think it could be a good talking point. I think it will be it will be interesting to see if Survivor, if CBS as a whole focus on it, because I think when they start focusing on things, if they start focusing too early, then someone's going.
Yeah, like Mariah from a few seasons ago,
Mariah
with her was it her sister or husband or brother with the necklace, kissing necklace.
Sister,
Cassidy, yes. Whereas Cassidy, later on in her season, they introduced the thing with her sister and the necklace. They had the same thing; it was a necklace. But Cassidy, we didn't find out about it till like the merge.
I was going to say,
and that's when you knew. Yeah.
I think JD, who we learned a lot about in like episode 2 or 3, and then he was gone like an episode later. So it'll be interesting to see if they focus on it. I'm with you. I could be wrong. I think Bruce is an early boot because this is assuming that everyone goes to tribal at least once. It may not end up that way. Bruce may very well be a very big physical asset for the tribe, especially considering who's on there right now. I actually think the last person we have to come up will probably be the least essential asset. Essential. I shouldn't say physical. Least essential, because the way he spoke about something just.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
But I think Bruce has potential. I don't know if he will get to follow through on it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let's move on to Carson now. Carson is the youngest one on this season. He's 20. He's a nerd. You see it. He's a nerd. Is he the not whiny, but like kind of Zach nerd? Not you, Zach. Zach.
Leave him alone.
No, is he Zach or is he Sammy? And I think that's a good question. I think he's a blend.
I saw him and heard him speak, and I was like, oh, they brought Sammy back on.
Sammy's a little bit more physically imposing, but I think Carson has more of a Sammy strategic like edge when he talks, rather than a Zach. That being said, on this tribe, him being the youngest with a seemingly older tribe, I mean, look at his tribe. He's got some older people on this tribe. If they go to tribal, he could go home strictly because he's the youngest. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. I still think he's going to get in well. He's smart. He's going to be good at puzzles. He's a NASA guy. But I'll say right now, he's a wild card for me because he could be the first boot, like Zach. He could be a finale person. I think if he makes a finale, though, he doesn't win because I don't think they're going to award a 20-year-old. I think Xander, he played a great game, didn't get awarded because he was young. I think just being young, I don't think he has a shot to win. But I'm excited to see him play because I think he has longevity. He has the most range of anyone. He could be the first boot or second place.
A goat. Something.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the thing. So listening to Carson speak, Carson has this thing that I like to call, I'm going to try and hide what's obvious. He comes in and he's like, I want them to see nerd, but what I really am is like, I know how to handle people. I know how to handle a team because of what I do for my job. And at the end of the day, you're not hiding anything because it's right there. Like you can't hide. I believe this. You can't hide personality. And he is all based on his interview alone. You can hide a profession, but you can't. You can hide a profession, but you cannot hide a personality. And his whole profession is based around his personality. And it just, to me, I don't know if he's going to get annoying. I don't know if he's. I'll give it away now. Oh my god, I felt like I was going to sneeze. He is not my first boot by any means. I have a very clear first boot. I think that they are going to go for me. I after thinking about it a bit, the thing about Carson is that I think Carson thinks he's going to play a good game and really hide, and he's not going to fool anyone. I think he thinks he's smarter than he is.
Yeah, and that's youth. That's
even
20
though he's
years old.
Intelligent. Yeah. That does not make you smart.
Right. I think the difference with Sammy is that he was smart, but he didn't think he was smart. I think Sammy thought he was dumb, and it worked because everyone else was kind of underestimating Sammy. But Sammy was very smart. I think Zach knew he was smart and wore it on his sleeve too much, and it got into Tori, who was also very smart and wears it on her sleeve.
I've been burned before.
The one thing also that I'll say about Carson in relation to that is I kind of like lost my train of thought, but I agree with you. Like it's all in the profession. I think if you're on a season where you could swap tribes, I think he would do much better. I think the difference is when in this game, if his tribe loses 2 or 3 times, him trying to hide the fact that he's smart, they're going to say, well, you're not strong physically. Right. So if you're not strong mentally, we're going to get rid of you. And I think in that sense, in a game where there's no swap, you want to make your tribe know I'm the smartest guy here. Because guess what? I'm going to help you win puzzles. At the merge, you can cut me. But at the merge, there's a lot more mental stuff. It's a lot more balance. It's a lot less heavy lifting. If in the pre-merge phase, he's saying, I can't heavy lift and I'm not smart, they're going to want to get rid
There's
of him.
no reason.
He
and
needs
there's no
to make
reason
them
to
feel
have him.
he's smart. He needs to let them know he's smart. Because what did Sammy do? He solved the triangles day one, and they immediately knew we got to keep this kid around.
He
needs
to
do something to earn favor. And if
He
he's
said-
trying to hide that, it's not going to work.
He said he wants to. He said he wants them to see nerd, but I don't know what that means. Like, oh, you don't want to seem imposing. You don't want to seem threatening. But the thing is, threat is not measured only by how good you are at challenges. Threat is also deemed by how well you look like you're trying to hide.
And if it's
noticeable.
And in the pre-merge, you need to be a threat in terms of physical, because look at Jonathan. They were never going to get rid of him because he was single-handedly lifting that tribe on his hands, on his shoulders. Whereas a lot of these women, and last season, I think the biggest downfall was that there were so many women voted off in a row. But I think part of that is because they were just physically a little weaker. And I think that's where this no swap era is not good for the game, because it gives incentive to keep the physically strong people around. So I hope this season we see more like puzzle challenges, so that they're not always keeping the Jonathans because they're strong. And I think everyone who is a Jonathan on the season, the big ones who could win challenges, are all in my merge, because that's the game that we play nowadays. And that's the one thing I don't like about the modern era, is that these early challenges rely on strength so much that like you're always going to see your Jonathans, your Danny McCrae's make it, even your cards make it to the merge because they're strong,
right?
Which sucks. Let's move on to Yam Yam though. I'm most excited for Yam Yam of anyone this season. Do I think he's going to win?
No.
We'll talk about it. I do think. Well, here's the thing: Mike Gabler. Mike Gabler, to me, this is the Mike Gabler of the season, and the fact that he's in all over the promotional materials. He's someone who, if he gets far in the game, I could see them wanting to get him out because they're worried he's going to beat them. They haven't seen Gabler's season, though. So maybe they're going to think he's a GOAT. Maybe they bring him to the end. But if you have Yam Yam against a jury, can you watch his videos without smiling?
No, you really can't.
If he's in a jury, though, if he's in Final 3, he could win jury votes.
And what I will tell you is that
he just has to get there.
Yam, yeah. So I was doing two things at once while I was watching. So I was like taking it in. I did stop to watch him because I heard his voice. I needed to see what he looked like. Mm-hmm. I needed to see what they were showcasing of him, and everything I saw, I did like.
Mm-hmm.
He does not want to hide, which I do like.
Which is good. And immediately, if you have Yam Yam on your tribe, who's going to want to vote him out first?
I hope no one watches this from my ORG. I say this as someone who is currently
playing a Survivor org.
I say this as someone who's currently in that position. To not hide is great. However, at a certain point, you have to hide. You do have to ask yourself, can I really be front and center anymore?
But is Yam Yam ever going to be front and center because he's a threat to win the game?
Did you hear how quiet I just got when I talked about
it? But is Yam Yam... The mic is still going to pick you up. Is Yam Yam strong enough? Yam Yam can be front and center this whole season, and I don't think anyone will want to get him out.
No.
Look at Marianne. She was front and center the whole season. She didn't become a threat till the very end. If Yam Yam could pull off one move in the end, Yam Yam could be the winner of the season. And I'm not saying Yam Yam is going to be the winner of the season, but I think in this modern era, this is where a person like Yam Yam can excel the most. If Nasir had better relationship builds, I think this is your Nasir. I think he's going to be someone who's going to be a huge physical threat. He comes from like an island area, Puerto Rico. He's used to kind of hardship, and Hurricane Maria hit his home. Like, he had no power. He kind of like had this driving force of hope. I just think he's going to have the whole package. I really could see him being like this kind of Rupert of the modern era, where like he makes it far, maybe doesn't win, but like I don't see a world where Yam Yam's not on our screens 10 episodes into the season. Like,
I think he makes the merge easily.
I think he makes the merge, and honestly, I think we could be seeing him in our finale. And I thought this is where we were going to differ. I thought you were going to have Yam Yam lower because he's like so out there.
I don't have him.
They were going to get him out, but
I don't have him too much lower. I'm just trying to look at my thing right now.
No, that's fine.
I feel like I'm missing.
I'll keep riffing, but yeah, I just think he's going to be someone also very survivalist. Like, they're going to want to keep him around for that. He's going to be easy to get along with. Like, I really think he's the full package. The only thing is if people don't take him legitimately. But Gabler, they didn't take him legitimately, and he sold him in the end. The only thing is I don't know if Yam Yam is going to be able to sell his case at the end, or if he's going to say, this was so much fun, I don't need the win. Because we saw Ty. Ty is another person that I thought of with Yam Yam, who's so full of life, so lovely, pulls that great move to blindside Scott and Jason, and then goes on to the end.
Oh, don't tell me that.
No, but goes on to the end and gets third place. Doesn't get any votes just because that wasn't about it for him. It wasn't about the win. He just didn't have a big enough case. Yami might not have a strong enough case, but like I really think he could win favor just by being lovable. And I think in the modern era, you see your Mariannes, your big characters make it that far. You see your Gablers win the game. Yam Yam, if he wins, will instantly be more likable than Gabler. It's just, is he going to have the resume to win if he gets that far? I don't know, but he's going to be a fan favorite, and I cannot wait to see it. So just to recap, this tribe, if we're looking at this tribe right now, just at a first glance, I think right now I would say Yam Yam and Carolyn being so oddballs could team up and maybe rope in Carson. Like those are the three kind of oddities. And I could see the three of them kind of teaming together to either get out the older man Bruce or get out one of the younger girls, Helen or Sarah. Yeah. But if Carson, Sarah, and Helen team up as the younger people and rope in like Yam Yam, you could see Carolyn and Bruce on the outs. Either way, I think Bruce is kind of like the one who's likable but kind of on the outs. I think Yam Yam's going to be in on every alliance, and I think Helen and Sarah can fly under the radar. And I don't know what to do.
Yam Yam and Carolyn are your wild cards on that tribe because it could be any of them. Sorry, it could be either of them who like kind of takes the spotlight, but what will matter more is who at the end of it is able to like pull in more people and guarantee, because if they pull in Carson, they're still always going to need an extra vote until they're at 5 and then 3 is the majority. But then what happens when Carson's on the outs?
I do think they are going to lose at least 2 before the merge, just because I think they do have the oldest tribe if you were to average it. Oh, maybe not with Carson, but I think they do have physically one of the weaker tribes because you don't have like this big, strong guy. But then again, Nasir, we didn't think was going to be the big, strong guy, and he was stronger than Danny on that season. So who knows? Speaking of, our next person, we're going to the Ratu tribe, is the football player. It's Brandon. Really quickly to recap the Ratu tribe, it's Brandon Cotton, football player, law student Kane Fritzler, barbershop owner Matthew Grinstead Mail, TikTok star Jamie Lynn Ruiz, teacher Lauren Harp, and Maddie Pamela, who doesn't have a profession written down here. But we're going to start with we're going to start with Brandon, though, our NFL guy. It's one of those things where now in the modern era, you're never going to vote out the NFL guy before the merge, and it's kind of sad because it's like I wish we didn't put all the NFL people in a box, but it's like, you're an athlete, you're probably going to make the merge. But then, are you going to win?
Was it Maddie who didn't have a profession?
Yeah, Maddie didn't have
She is a charity projects manager.
Cool. Yeah, Brandon, he's now a security specialist. He is the NFL guy. He's outgoing. He's very likable. Like, him and Danny, I think there's a lot of parallels. But, like, can someone like Brandon win the game? Is it possible? I don't know.
I think you keep Brandon until the merge, and then you get rid of him as fast as you possibly can. Which sucks because, someone like Brandon also has the ability to win immunity once you get there.
I mean, Jonathan came in 4th, Danny came in 6th. And so, like, you can make it that far.
I have him a bit lower. I still have him. When is merge?
13 is when they do the earn the merge, and then 12 is official merge. So 13 is where Ellie got voted off, where Sydney got voted off. And 12 is where, like, Tiffany went home. 12 is where... I'm blanking on who the first... Oh, Janine went home. So, like, that's kind of
why would you say that?
Sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, I think that Brandon... I think he's a shoo-in for the merge because you need these strong people. Every time I think of like a pre-merge challenge, I think of how often they're in the water. And the truth of the matter is you need athletic people. As someone who swam for years, you cannot be unathletic and swim. Because it is so hard to do it efficiently if you do not have a build or you do not have the upper body strength, and he's clearly got it. So, for me, I think Brandon is personable. I think he's likable. He's magnetic. He has that great. He has everything you want in an alliance member. You probably recognize pretty early on you can't let this guy get to the end because if you let him get to the end, it's over for you. So I think others, once they get to the merge, will look at it and go, all right, we got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah. Now we're moving on to Kane. Where was Erica from, by the way, when she won?
She's from Canada.
Where was Marianne from?
Don't do this. I know where they were from.
Where's Kane from, Zach?
He's from Saskatchewan.
He's from Canada. What do you think of Kane?
Kane has the makings for a winner if he can get to the merge. And I'm going to tell you right now, on that tribe, I don't think he gets to the merge.
Nope, I think he's the first boot on that tribe. And I don't want to say he's the first boot, period, because I think this tribe, if I look at them on paper, they got the NFL guy, they got Matthew, who we'll talk about in a sec, and their 3 girls look like they're going to be really strong. I don't think they lose a lot.
You think the 3 girls look like they're going to be really strong?
I mean...
We're about to differ on
something. I don't know, but I think having NFL guy and Matthew on the tribe,
Oh, yeah.
That could be your. I mean, the two of them alone could Jonathan your tribe.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like I really think this could be a tribe that doesn't go at all. But if they go at all, I think Kane's the one to go because I think the girls are gonna like cozy on up to the NFL guy, to Matthew, these bigger guys that they feel like they can trust that are physical threats. Kane's not a physical threat.
No,
and
not
he's
at
not
all.
a physical asset. Like I love Kane. I love he's 25. He's from Canada. He's like around my age. But he says he's inclusive, but he's loud. He's competitive. He just comes across super fan and doesn't hide it. But he's a super fan who can't back it up with like real something
Tangible.
super skillful. Yeah. Like even Carson, he's a NASA guy. Like the Kane doesn't really come across as anyone that like we need to keep Kane to win this challenge. And I think in this era, you got to get rid of the weakest player. And I think those women are going to be better in terms of social, whereas Kane is someone who's a wild card, almost like a Daniel. Remember where it's like you're stronger than some of these people, but you're more chaotic, and we don't know if we can trust you.
So what I will say about Kane
even though he's not going to be a villain, he's going to still be very charismatic.
So what I will say about Kane in that tribe versus the others is that I do think that Kane has longevity for the two more physical and like more imposing individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Thing about Kane is I just think Kane, you can't. I said before, you can't hide personality, and he's not trying. So what happens when you piss somebody off and you can't fucking back it up? You can't hide personality. You can use it to your advantage. My question is, do you use it? Can he use it to his advantage? Yeah. He's also 25 years old.
And we don't know. We haven't seen the season. He could end up being a challenge beast. That's what's so fun about Survivor is you have these people who come out of nowhere. Like Cassidy wins how many immunities? Like 3?
And at the end game. Like it's not early.
But that's the thing is like
necessary.
You never really know. But in this tribe phase, I think Kane's going to be the weakest guy. And I think when you're a weaker guy, it just stands out more than being a weaker girl. And I hate to bring gender dynamics into it, but like I think in this game, it's all about social dynamics. And I think they look at that. And if you're, if you're this one of these 3 bigger guys, the other 2 are so much stronger than you. I think it makes him look worse in comparison. Though I'm rooting for him. I hope he does well.
I like him a lot. I actually I would love to see him go far.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of.
Speaking of rooting for Matthew Grinstead male, there are 2 Matthews. One Matthew, one Matt. This is Matthew. We've got a Matt as well. But Matthew. Yeah, you said you love. Please talk about him. He's 43. He's a barbershop owner. He's also the one in the preview that we see fall off the cliff. Assuming he doesn't die, what do you think?
Assuming. So I don't think he's the one who gets airlifted either because we have an airlift.
Shit,
I don't think it's him.
I
think that would
be too obvious.
I think that would be too obvious.
Oh great! Now I got to predict that.
I have no idea who it's going to be.
I have no idea.
But
I'm not going to change my ranking for it.
Try.
But it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be Matthew because if it was him, they wouldn't have shown him climbing that cliff and falling.
That's what I mean. If it was
cliff,
was him,
I say it's a rock in the water, but it looks steeper than it probably is.
I think, me personally, I think Matt goes far. I think he doesn't win.
I mean, I immediately looked at him and said, "This is the ideal Survivor,"
100%.
And that is exactly why he's going to be the Omer, Ricard, Jesse of the season. Like I think that's tailor made for him.
He was a great speaker, passionate, easy to like. I was like, this dude's got it.
He's perfect,
and they're gonna know it.
Yeah,
and you can't bring him to the end.
But he'll soar through to the merge, and then when he gets to the merge, though, he could probably win a lot of challenges.
And Dylan, I want you to guess.
And with this tribe being so strong, in my outcome, the way I designed it, they only lose once, and 5 people end up in the merge. If they go in with 5 strong, he can be the biggest threat because he's got protection. That's how Erica, Danny, Deshaun, that's how they made it so far. Even Nasir. I mean, that tribe was so strong. The only reason they lose a little steam is because Sydney gets picked off right away. I'm predicting this to be that blue tribe. I'm predicting 1 boot pre-merge. I think I kind of alluded to who it might be. And then I think the 5 go into the merge. 1 of them gets cut at the merge, and then the other 4, some of them go far, some of them don't. But I think this tribe's going to be so strong, and he's going to be like that backbone of that tribe. I love him.
I want you to just guess where I have him placed.
I mean, do you have him the fire-making loser, or right before that?
He's fire-making loser for me. And that's not, again, it's not really to give anything away.
Yeah.
It's more to say, like, it's very hard.
I'm trying to show you without showing you the rest of my ranking, but...
is he also in your fire-making?
I'm going to screenshot it and then, like, crop off the edges so you can see where.
Well, why don't while we do that, you tell me who the next person to talk about is, and I will.
The next person is Jamie, the TikToker.
Oh, great person is for me to talk about.
Okay.
Dylan, this is boot 1.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh
why?
my god! So this is my thing.
I haven't
right?
watched the video, so please tell me.
Her video leads me to believe that she shouldn't be here.
Okay.
Her video leads me to believe that she should not be playing this game of Survivor because she's got really no plan. No plan.
Yeah.
No.
By the way, this is where I have Matthew. Just so you know.
No way.
Yeah. We have Matthew in the same spot. He's my fire making loser too. Even though I don't think he's gonna lose fire, it doesn't make sense to me. But like, just in terms of placements, I think he misses out really short of the final 3 and becomes our fallen angel.
I'm gonna play just a bit of Jamie's.
Yeah, please. I don't want to get copyrighted, so just play a little bit. Maybe so they can hear it.
So Survivor kind of helped me succeed young, and while I was, my name is Jamie. I am from Mesa, Arizona. I'm a marketing consultant and a yogi, but I started working in corporate America when I was very young.
Cool. What
She goes on to just really talk about how she's like, I think I'll be really good at Survivor because this and that, and it sounds like she's got absolutely no value. And pre-merge, if you've got no value, you're not worth bringing. And that's just I found her voice.
And these are first impressions.
Of course. She could be great.
Some people thought Marianne was annoying episode 1, and we all went on to love her.
I found her voice irritating. If I'm getting that first impression, I'm thinking about what happens when I get in there. Unless she performs well, what the hell do I need her for?
Like I alluded to, I think that tribe's just going to be really good. So
yes.
I have her making the merge because of the tribe strength. But I think once you get to the tribal phase, you look at these tribes that have a lot of numbers. You look at the yellow Yasa tribe. You look at the blue Levu tribe or whatever it was. And like that's when you start to just see people picked off. I think she could be picked off as just like target to get someone else. Like if they want to target, let's say they want to get out Brandon or Matthew, but they're worried they have idols or something, or one of them has immunity, they could easily target one of these women and just say they're the number 2 or number 3 in command. Kind of like how they went after Sydney instead of Deshawn. You know, like they go for the person who's kind of like next in command. Like how you get out Tiffany before you get out Evie, even though I think Evie won immunity then. Like I think you kind of go for the number 2. Right. And that's where I think you could see Jamie go out. I still don't hate her chances. I don't think she can win. But I do think she's someone who's loyal enough where, like, I don't see the reason you would get rid of her. But again, I haven't heard her interviews, so that makes a lot of sense. What about Lauren Harp? I know you love teachers. What about Lauren, the teacher? What are your thoughts on Lauren?
I like Lauren a lot.
Okay.
I enjoyed her speaking. I do think she makes it very far. She talks a lot about how appreciative she is to be able to even have this, opinion. Or sorry, not opinion, this opportunity, and the way that like she just to see someone like her, I think it means a lot to her. I think she's got use. She knows she's got a lot of patience because she is a teacher, and I think that is going to help her go far. She's careful with words. Even if she's not an asset in challenges, she's probably going to be an asset to people's social game, and I think that's going to bring her pretty damn far.
I like Lauren. The only thing is, like, if this tribe does lose a lot, that's when you could see some of these women get picked off. But I don't think she'll be the first priority there. I think she's going to be social enough where she's likable enough. I think she's going to get along well with people. She's someone who I could see just being like kind of like what Liana was to like Shan, like this person that you just kind of take out toward the end just as a way again to kind of target someone stronger. Right. I could see her being like close with Matthew or close with Brandon and them just like taking that shot because they want to target them. But she seems so likable. Like I would gravitate toward her on the island. I think she's got a really stunning smile. She's got kids, I think. She's a mom. So, like, another thing, single parent, like, that's a thing you can use to connect with people. Mm-hmm. But she's still young enough to, I think, fit with that younger demographic. She's not going to feel like the mom like Tiffany and Heather did. She's going to feel like one of the younger people, which I think is a huge asset for her. I think she's going to do very well as well. Now let's move on to the last woman on that tribe, and that is Maddie. What do you think of Maddie? Because I know, like you said, by looking at her, she seems like one of the weaker people. But she did have, like, this weird... not weird, but like this spark that I kept coming back to when I was reading her stuff. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not so sure yet. But please tell me, what do you think of Maddie?
I think that on the whole, Maddie offers a great opportunity to people who know the game really well that are playing to say, this is a number. This is a number. Because if anyone knows anything about Survivor, right, even someone who's been watching for like 3 seasons... or even just 4 episodes, it's a game of numbers. Mm-hmm. You got to have a number. You got to have the right, you got to have the larger number. And what Maddie is a number. She may not be good at challenges. She may not be great at talking to people. She may not be great in terms of like ability to win the game. But early on, she's a number. And that's all that matters. I don't think personally she makes the merge because I don't think she has enough value to get to the merge, especially if this is also like I'm really trying to figure out who's going to tribal when, how to get them there, and so this is barring they get to tribal often. She's a great number until you realize that like you can only flip flop around with her for so long, so you got to get someone out to like either strengthen or weaken enough.
Yeah, she is so funny. I'm reading her stuff. She's hilarious. But I'm worried it's going to be a little almost. She reminds me of Sydney a little bit, like kind of someone who's almost a little too funny to where like it comes across a little insincere. Like I think she's going to have a little trouble connecting with people, and because she's a little smaller, she's a little younger. I just don't know if that's going to endear her to people or if it's going to turn people off. I think her tribe is going to do very well. My worry is that she's going to be someone that. I mean, I have her exactly where Sydney was. I hate to spoil my ranking, but I have her as the person who goes home kind of between pre-merge and merge, that like earn the merge hourglass. That's 13.
I have her at 14.
All right, so right before the merge. But I have her at that 13 because I think she could get there. But then once, let's say she's on the losing end, and that's a 50-50. She's either going to win or lose that challenge. If she loses that challenge, she's someone I think a lot of people could easily kind of look at and be like, you're kind of annoying, let's get rid of you. And I don't think she's annoying, but I think that's kind of the first impression. And that vote specifically is all about first impressions because you're meeting the other tribes for the first time.
Right.
You really don't know where to go. Look at, I know she was your girl, but Ellie was annoying people. And Gabler made everyone know that she was annoying. No, but that's the thing. Sydney was kind of annoying people. Ellie was annoying people. Lydia was not, but Lydia also was part of High, connected to High, and I don't know. I think this is kind of where you could see that person who's just kind of like not gelling, but also in a good enough spot where like it's still a power play to get rid of her. I don't know. I don't know where to put her. She could be your first boot. She could be your GOAT. She could even be a Cassidy where she's a little sassy but ends up actually having win equity at the end. I don't think she can win though. But that is your Ratu tribe. That is Brandon, Kane, Matthew, Jamie, Lauren, and Maddie. Spoiler alert, I think this tribe is going to do very well. I think this is the strongest.
I don't think they're going to travel very often.
This is the strongest team on paper, I think. And I think if they go, it's going to be either Jamie or Kane. But I still think the women are going to band together because the women are all of the same age demographic. I think Kane is the odd man out in that tribe, and I think Kane is the boot there. Everyone else, I think, could soar through the merge, and I think we have some potential winners on this tribe as well.
I agree.
Even though we both kind of spoiled where we put Matthew. So let's move on to the Soka tribe. We have investor Claire Rafson. We have research coordinator Frankie Marin. We have product developer Heidi Lagaris Greenblatt. We have firefighter Danny Massa. We have podiatrist Dr. Joshua Wilder. He is the doctor there. And software engineer Matthew Blankenship. I'm going to start with Claire. Claire, immediately, like a lot of people are just like screaming, winner pick, winner pick, winner pick. Because she really is like kind of your overall like perfect amalgamation of like she can appeal to a lot of people. She's got a lot of different ethnicities, a lot of backgrounds. She's not physically imposing enough to where she's a threat, but she's also physically fit enough to where she could help you and be an asset in challenges. She seems like someone who could be loyal. She's 25, which is a little younger than the typical winner range, but that's okay. She's from New York. She's very energetic, motivated. She's kind of like the perfect contestant. But I said that about Chanel a few years ago, and she wasn't my winner pick, Chanel, but like it gave me the Chanel vibes to where it's almost, is it too good to be true? Is it where like you see this perfect example of a contestant? I also said the same thing about Taylor on Big Brother, and immediately week one she's targeted as the biggest threat and goes on to win, but not because she's a flawless player, because she was the underdog. Whereas I thought Taylor was going to win because she just had everything going right for her in the interviews. So immediately I wanted to say winner pick, but I don't know, because nowadays is a winner pick that easy to where like it's the most sane, normal person, because she identifies with Michelle Fitzgerald and she gives me such Michelle Fitzgerald vibes. You don't know Michelle, but I know Michelle and I love Michelle, and she's exactly what I thought of with Claire, where she's going to just ride under the radar, make some big moves at the end, not be the best player of the season, but this era, Claire is the epitome of the person who is not the best of the season, but she takes out the best of the season. I could see her pulling that move maybe. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Claire? I didn't let you speak on
I like Claire. Mm-hmm. I like her. Again, super likable, super present. Might have a hard time at the end creating a case for herself.
Okay.
However, where you just said probably not the best player, but we'll take out the best player. I don't have her at that spot, but what I do have her far enough that I can say I think she is probably going to be the herald behind getting out some of those people.
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, Brandon makes it to the end, he beats us. Let's not let that happen. Hey, Helen is super personable. Let's not let that happen. And people are like, yeah, you're right. I can't lie. And so I think that will assist her in long-term relevancy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yep.
We'll find out.
Next we have Franny. Franny, she's also someone like Carson. Oh, thumbs down. Let me just say, she's someone who immediately kind of comes across as like very smart. Very smart. And she says she wants to play like Aubrey. She wants to play like Gabby. Two very smart players, but also two players that early on struggled because they were deemed as weak, but then had these great underdog edits and kind of came behind to win at the end, or not win at the end, but come close. She's a little young. She's 23, but I love her responses. She's curious, calculating. She's zesty. Like, I think she's got like this almost Evie kind of like quality to her. I know you're going to say something opposite, and she's probably your first boot, judging by your face.
She's not.
Okay, tell us about Franny. What do you think, Franny?
Franny. Franny made a mistake in her video. Not a mistake. It's not a mistake. These are first impressions. She talked about wanting to backstab people. She talked about wanting to lie and wanting to like stir the pot and things like that. And you know what? Someone like Yam Yam pulls that off a lot better. And I say that as like, Franny offers nothing, as far as I know right now, right? Like, based on what she said, and like, I'm glad that all that came out, because what she says in that interview is better than whatever she says in the video. But she offers, to me, nothing extraordinary. And she talks about wanting to like do these funky things. And at the end of the day, you can't make big moves if you have nothing to back it up. I think that to me, she's not first boot, but she just holds no weight. You cannot want to backstab while offering nothing to the tribe. And if she's smart, she might be able to do what Sammy and Carson can do, which is that like idea of like, hey, when we need mental and challenges, that's who I am.
True, but you also have a doctor on the tribe.
Spoiler alert, Dylan, I don't have that very high either. I don't like his vibe.
Oh boy, we'll have a conversation later.
So Franny surprised me, is what I have to say.
This is also the tribe that when I look at has the least big personalities. This one you have like Matthew, who's a big personality, Kane, who's going to be a big personality, TikTok girl is going to be a big personality. On this one you have Yam Yam and Carolyn. Carson. This one it's like all kind of like normal. Yeah, you're more, and I don't want to say normal as if the others aren't, but like Franny's the oddball of this seemingly tame tribe.
Yes.
But I think that'll make people kind of endear. Like, I think she'll endear herself to people. And I think when you get to the merge, if Franny gets to the merge, I can see Franny and Carson linking up like kind of these younger nerds. I don't know. But now we have Heidi. Heidi is the older woman on the tribe.
I love Heidi.
You do love Heidi. Tell me about Heidi. Tell me about Heidi.
I don't know if it's... So English is not her first language.
Okay.
Fun fact. I love how driven and like forward thinking she is, because based on the way she speaks, you would never know. Then you start to hear it and you're like, oh yeah, I could see how that's possible. She never once falters on the way that she speaks. She speaks beautifully about how she feels, in terms of like the way that what Survivor means to her, what it means to be able to do things like this. And I think that she's going to be someone who is deceptively strong and useful in a challenge. I think she's going to pull out a lot at the end, enough to get her to the merge. I don't know if she'll have what it takes to win it all, but...
My thing, she's 43. She's the oldest woman on the tribe. And I just worry when I think of like some of the people we've seen go home earlier. She kind of fits that mold of the Mariah,
100%.
of the NECA, of the people who are just like not bad for their tribes, but if they have to pick someone off, she's just visibly the weakest.
Right.
And I just think that tribe is going to lose a few times just because I don't think they have like that one person who's going to like carry the team on their back, like the football player, or like the other tribe having like Yam Yam, who's a survivalist literally, or Bruce, or any of these people. Like, I really think they're going to lose a few times, and I just don't know if if you lose twice or 3 times, still keeping her around. If this is an era with tribe swaps, yeah, you keep her around because she's a number, but if they lose 3-4 times, she could be like a genie where it's like you just have to go by then. I do like her a lot. I want to watch her videos, and we'll see it tonight on the episode, but like I want to watch her, but just reading this tribe and just how the Survivor history of late has gone, I just don't have confidence in her going far. And it sucks. But I'd love to see her go far. Next we have Danny Massa, who is a firefighter. If there is going to be a strong person on this tribe who's going to do a lot of heavy lifting, it's going to be Danny. But it's one of those things, kind of like what you said with Brandon, when he gets to the merge, which I probably will, is that where you have to just like go for him. And that's going to be the question, is can he manage his threat level? Because if you like look at him and read his stuff, he is so likable, he's charismatic, he's kind of got everything, kind of like Matthew. But the one thing is that he is a firefighter and he does look strong. Right. And that's my only worry. But to talk about Danny.
Love Danny.
Okay.
I think Danny has a winner personality.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Danny has the potential to make it to the end.
Okay.
I think the only reason he doesn't is if he walks into the merge with not enough numbers.
I'm like looking for stuff. Sorry, keep going.
What I like about Danny is that he is not so out there. He's calm, reserved, kind of to himself, but not in a way that makes him unapproachable. I think if anybody is going to have an easy time of kind of like leading the tribe, it will be him, and he will be able to come and what I love about what he said your reputation is everything. He said, as a firefighter in rank, your reputation is everything. And it was that moment that I said, this guy cares about more than just winning the game. He cares about how people are going to walk out. So he's never going to, at least based on how he spoke of it. We're recording. My God.
Excuse me.
We're not even in New York City. Based on what he said,
I'm going there tomorrow.
He's going to do everything he can to not have to be the person, not to make a tough decision, but to make people sour on him while he walks out. I think that's going to be huge.
This is why I think that will work against him. You look at Jesse. Jesse has a similar story to Danny where he has like a lot of inspirational stuff with his family. Like he talks about his mother and his inspiration and like losing his brother-in-law from rare cancer and, you know, all this stuff with his adopted children, all this stuff. The only thing, he's all about being kind and compassionate. He's a firefighter. He likes to help people and all that stuff. He's inspirational. Jesse was inspirational, but Jesse was a villain and he knew it and he didn't really care. On the way out, like he wanted to stay in good graces, but at the end of the day, it was all about the money, all about the game. I'm worried Danny's going to almost think too hard about being friendly and he's going to lose a little bit of that edge, and that's when someone's going to get him. And I'm worried about him because of that, but if he can find that killer instinct, which I think he can, he's going to win challenges. He's going to win immunities. He's going to go far. It's just that extra mile, I want him to like win more than just challenges and social capital. I want him to have that strategic part, and that's the one thing I think is missing for Danny. But I don't know. Like, I still like Danny, and I'm not. I think
there's someone else on there that pisses me off a little more than Danny.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the doctor.
Oh, look, he's arrived.
Let's talk about Dr. Josh. You have seen my thoughts on Dr. Josh, and that was, you know, a good segue because I think we both kind of have him in a similar spot. I don't think he's going to be the first boot just because he looks strong, but when you're a doctor on this show, there's an ego you bring.
What's the guy from 42? Was it 40?
41 was Voce.
But
Voce was not what we thought he'd be. In the interviews, he was like kind of condescending and cocky, but on the island, he was chill. He just went home because he wasn't in the numbers with like Tiffany and Evie.
That's what Josh? Is that his name?
Dr. Josh.
Dr. Josh. I think that's going to be the same thing for Dr. Josh. I don't think he'll be as big of a jerk as I kind of feel like he comes off in his video. But the doctors think they know everything. So like Voce,
which in their professions they do, and we should trust them, and we love our doctors. But in the game of Survivor,
you're not in the medical examination.
Yeah. That's the type of profession where you should hold back. Like that's where like NASA scientists, you tell your tribe.
You doctor, do not tell anyone that you are a doctor.
Yeah.
Don't
say you're a nurse. Say you're a nurse, because then it's like, oh, you still help people. You can relate to them that way. But once you bring doctor into it, you just kind of have this ego. And I'm not saying in real life you do, and you should, because doctors should have egos. They save lives. But on the game of Survivor, it comes across as cockiness.
Yeah, you can't afford that in Survivor. And looking at his tribe, I feel like he's going to come off as like, I guess I'm gonna have to lead this, and that is gonna be the easy. Because you know what? If I'm on a tribe, I'd rather go to tribal a million times if it means that I don't have to listen to this douchebag talk about how important he is, right? And that could be he could come on and not do that, and that would be great. And I think it would work to his advantage.
My only thing,
I don't think that's gonna happen.
My only thing is he's got like this little like sassy, like he talks about being like this like kind of like out there, very like in your face gay, wanting to play the villain, and that's kind of what Romeo was. So I'm a little bit more like maybe he could be the Romeo of the season, but then again, still doesn't win. Like I think even if he goes far, he's going to be a villain who doesn't win. Sorry, I spit on you.
That's okay.
But yeah, like I don't know about Josh. The thing is that tribe, if they lose a few, I don't know if he's going to be the first person they target because he's going to be a physical asset. But I think if you lose a few more times, I could see him being like a blindside.
Yes.
Because I think if you get him out, you want it to be rich and satisfying. I think you get a blindside out of him. Kind of like Peter, if you'll remember, from Aubrey's season, actually. It's funny that we have Franny on this tribe with him because it reminds me of Aubrey and Peter. Aubrey, that blindside of Peter is amazing television on the same season as Kyle and Jason and Ty. That's a great season. You should watch that season because that's also the season with Michelle, who Claire compared herself to Michelle. He's been compared to Kyle and Jason. I just compared Yam Yam to Ty. I compared Franny to Aubrey. I compared Claire to Michelle, and I just compared Josh to Peter. So watch Co Wrong season 33. And you'll see these parallels, but I think he's the person who like gets that blindside early on.
The question is, am I Todd or Jason, or what's his name?
Scott or Jason.
Scott or Jason.
You're probably more of a Jason because you've got. A
Does he
win?
No.
Shit. No, Michelle wins, but yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Last person to talk about is the other Matthew, Matt. I need to pull up Matt's. You love Matt,
Matthew. Yeah. I think Matthew is the Omer.
We're gonna say Matt for his case, just because we already have a Matt.
I think Matt F, I think is who he is.
This is Matt. I wish this was Matt B. This is Matt B.
Okay,
we already talked about Matt
F. No, he's Matt G. Wait, he's on my what? Doesn't
Matthew?
Really...
Matthew is the one we talked about at our,
Matt
our 4.
G.
This is
G
Matt
is
G.
at 4.
This is Matt B. Sorry.
I think that Matt B. is that Omer. Good personality, completely unassuming. Probably will not be helpful in challenges, but better than Josh.
Okay.
I think he's got merit, and I think that's going to be, for that tribe in specifics, merit is going to be above everything else because you've got a doctor, you've got a doctor and someone who wants to play the villain. Someone who wants to play the villain but like doesn't really have anything to back it up. Who the hell else is on that tribe? A firefighter who clearly values loyalty.
Heidi, Franny.
The oldest woman in the tribe, and Claire, and someone who is very unassuming. So he is going to mesh well with. I think he's going to mesh better with Danny, Claire, and Franny than Josh or Heidi might. I think Heidi will come in hotter with like the ability to like want to talk to people where Josh might not. I think Matt's great. Matt, I fear, will be a GOAT by the end of the season if he doesn't win anything.
I immediately saw him and I went, he's your Owen. Like, I really think he could be like friends with everyone, but then at the end it's just like he didn't do anything himself.
What do you
I don't have him in the final 3 because I still think he's going to be likable enough where they're going to want to take him out. Well, we'll get there in a sec. He's our last person. No, we're gonna get there in a sec. But I do think he's but he's someone who I don't see him going early. Like I think he's gonna be around for a long time. It's gonna be confusing and frustrating that we're gonna have a Matthew and a Matt go very far in the season. Because we both have Matt at 4, or we have Matthew at 4, and we have Matt probably high up. So it's like we're gonna have to be watching a Matt and a Matthew the whole season. It's gonna get annoying. But maybe they're gonna give nicknames to some. I don't know. But I like Matt. I think he's gonna be good. But I think he's gonna be like the Charlie Brown kind of like Owen was. Now let's rank these guys. Let's rank them and see where we think they're gonna lie. So who is your first boot?
It's Jamie.
Jamie's your first. Jamie. Okay.
Which means you'll win.
Which means Jamie's gonna win. My first boot, and it breaks my heart because I didn't know about like the whole like language thing, but being the older woman in the tribe, I have Heidi out first. I have her as my 18, and again, congratulations, you probably just won.
No, congratulations,
I famously had Erica and Heather in the last 2 spots, and they ended up being a dynamic duo, getting 1st and 4th.
True.
So that means that Heidi and Jamie are going to link up at the merge and win this game. Who's your 17?
At 17, I have Josh.
I'm going to put your names next.
At 17, I have Josh.
Ooh, Dr. Josh, second boot. Wow.
Well, and that's
No, I mean that's good.
He's in the Voce spot.
True.
He's
well,
in the
well, there was a double boot and then Voce, so technically Voce was the second boot of his tribe. But yeah, no, it's
for
it's
me,
second
he's
episode.
In the, He's in the Voce spot.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 17 only again because he's like the outlier, he's the older man on the tribe is Bruce. I have Bruce at 17. Who do you have at 16?
At 16, I have Franny. Goodbye.
Okay. Oh wow, early. Okay. I have Kane at 16. I think he's the one boot of his tribe. I just think he doesn't fit in with his tribe. Who's your 15?
At 15, I have Bruce.
Okay, and that's where I have. This is kind of like like my first like big blind side, and I have Sarah. I think she's going to be the person like at that point where she's almost too normal, kind of like the Lindsay thing, and maybe gets a little over paranoid and just kind of that outlier of like we can get rid of her. She's a little weaker. So I have Sarah at 15. Who's your 14?
At 14,
this is the final boot before the merge.
At 14, I have Maddie. I think she is that like.
Yeah.
Your numbers are no longer useful. There's a lot more numbers to have.
And my boot right before the merge is that blind side, like I talked about, the villain blind side. The last big villain you have to conquer before the merge, and that's Josh. So that's where I have Josh. So we both have Josh pre-merge. We both have Bruce.
Amount of people.
We both have Josh and Bruce pre-merge. Everyone else, though, we differ. Who is your 13? This is your earn the merge spot. So 6 people are going to win a challenge. One person is either going to bet on the 6 who win or bet on the 6 who lose. And then either 6 or 7 people will go to tribal. Who's your earn the merge?
I think the earn the merge is Kane. I think earn the merge because at a certain point he becomes unuseful. Okay, he becomes unuseful. He gets unlucky, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's where I have Maddie. Kind of like I said, she's going to be that one who's who gets in there, but like at the end, she's not valuable enough to her alliance, but also a big enough threat for the other people. They don't like her as much, like the Ellie, Sydney. Who's your 12? This is the first boot of the actual like merge, first juror.
12th, I have Sarah. I don't think she'll make enough tight relationships with people, and it's going to be too soon into the merge to try and really make those numbers. And I think that's just kind of like, okay, we got to throw out a name. Let's throw out Sarah.
At 12 here, this is where I have firefighter Danny. I think he's going to be like someone who, as soon as you get to the merge, he's physical enough, but he's kind of like we kind of allude to, he's so nice and cares so much about feelings that you could kind of pull that 180 on it. But I'd love to see him go further. But he is my 12. Who is your 11?
At 11, I have Carson.
That's where I have Carson.
No way.
Yeah, like I could see him getting the merge and getting a few rounds in at that point.
And then they're like,
he
this kid's a little too
Evie,
smart.
Where it's like going to be huge character early on, but gets in the merge and then a few rounds in the merge.
And I feel like there's nowhere else for him to go. He's going to keep ending up on Parchment, and at a certain point, it's going to be like it's. Goodbye.
Yeah. So at 10 and 9, this is where they split up into 2 groups of 5. So it's a double boot. So the first boot I have in that is Brandon, and the second boot I have is Jamie. Is Brandon your 10?
Brandon's my 10.
Yeah. So Brandon goes home because I think he's strong, and then I have Jamie in my 9 because she's just kind of like there, and she's another number. We usually see one huge threat and one kind of non-threat. Jamie feels like the Ryan, and Brandon feels like the James, where it's like boom.
So I have Brandon, and then at 9 I have Helen because I think she's gonna. I don't think she's
kind of the
gonna,
same position as Jamie for me.
Yeah,
it's like
she's
kind
not
of
gonna,
under
and
the
she's
radar.
not gonna offer enough merit to anyone who has her kind of aligned with her to say like, well, what are we keeping her for?
Okay.
She's just gonna go to the end, and we're gonna be stuck here.
Who's your number 8? This is the first boot after that chaotic 10-10.
My first boot, believe it or not,
at 8
is Claire.
Claire? Okay, cool.
And for Claire, I think it's going to be, again, people get wise to what she's doing. At a certain point in 8.
This is like the Liana high spot kind of.
And what happens is 4 and 4, even if everything is split, you take the 2 out after the tie. Claire is a bigger threat than a lot of these people, probably visually and out there.
This is where 8 is where I have teacher Lauren. I think she's just going to be a good number, and then just kind of like ends up getting voted out. Maybe because of an idol, she's just the next, like the backup boot who just goes like this is kind of where the Liana thing is, and I think she's going to be like a Liana where she's kind of second in command to other people. Next we have the kind of the Drea spot. Who is your number 7? Like getting out 2 episodes before the finale.
Dylan, it's Yam.
Okay, 7th place. That's not bad for Yam Yam. I still haven't mentioned him.
I think Yam Yam burns the wrong bridge and it's over.
This is just because I didn't really know where to put him. I put Matt here, not Matthew. Matt. Just because I just think he's someone who could go far, could go mid merge. I haven't been at a mid merge spot. I think he's someone they cut earlier than the finale, but not quite at the finale. Who's your 6th spot? This is your last boot before the finale.
At 6, I have Lauren. And if you'll notice, based on who's there, I think she just falls as an outlier of who is left. Cool. I think she falls short and just...
Yeah, this is where I have Franny. I think Franny's going to have a really nice underdog story.
No way!
No, I think Franny's going to have an underdog story and then honestly become more of a threat to where they cut her right before the end because she just can't win a challenge at the end when it's crucial. But I think she's going to be a big threat at the end where they're like, wow, we're underestimating Franny. So now we're at the finale. Who do you think is your last boot before Fire Me? So the last proper boot. This is the last time idols can be played.
Well,
who do you have at 5? And we only have 2 people in our final 5s in similarity.
Considering we know Matthew is at 4. I got Matt B. Matt going 5th, and I think that he outstays his welcome, and they realize this guy's very likable.
Yeah,
I don't want that happening.
At 5, only because I don't see her finding an idol, and this is going to be the time where people play idols, and I think she just ends up going home as a audience kind of hurts the heart. Carolyn is where I have her here because I just don't know if I see her almost like a Heather, but not at Fire, but just kind of being like, all right, you made it this far, but now you're going to go just because there's no other option. We both have Matthew at 4. We both think he's a Fire-making loser, even though I don't see him losing Fire. Honestly, I kind of want to put Matthew at 5 in the card spot and put Carolyn at 4 as a Fire-making loser, even though I don't know why you would use Fire to get out Carolyn. I'm going to keep Matthew at 4 just because I think it would be kind of like this epic move if someone were to take out the biggest threat. And I'll tell you who I think is going to take out the biggest threat in Fire in just a sec. So our final 3s, can you say in alphabetical order your final 3s just so we can clarify?
Carolyn, Danny, Heidi.
Carolyn, Danny, and Heidi. And my final 3 in alphabetical order is Claire, Helen, and Yam Yam. So who comes in 3rd? Who comes up short? Who doesn't get any votes or gets a few votes? Carolyn, okay.
Carolyn for me. And it's that same thing. I don't think she wins anything ever. And I think she was brought to the end to goat it out.
Okay. In 3rd, I have Helen, because I think Helen is someone who can make the end. She just rides coasts, but I just don't see her having that
no resume
case. She could make moves, but she feels like an Erica, if Erica was sitting with some bigger power players and not Deshaun, who shot himself in the foot at Final Tribal, or Xander, who was too young for people to respect. I think the other 2 people I have with Helen are going to just make bigger impacts this season. Who's your runner-up?
My runner-up is Heidi.
Wow, my first boot is his runner-up. I like that, though. Tell us why.
I think she...
I just figured out who your winner pick is. Cool.
Well,
cool. Yeah.
I think Heidi is going to make a lot of close relationships with people, which is going to keep her safe for a very long time. The thing is, I think people are going to start to view her as my relationship with you kept you safe, not the moves you made kept you safe. And I think that people are not going to want that as the ultimate decision for her vote.
All right. At number 2, and I toy between this because Gabler really made me think, is this person going to win? But I put him at 2nd. I put Yam Yam at 2nd. Because here's the thing. If Yam Yam gets to the end, I can see him picking up some votes because he's likable, but I don't think he's going to have the resume to get the win. I think Gabler didn't have a resume, but Gabler was able to articulate it, and that jury was bitter against Cassidy.
That's true.
The jury was bitter against Cassidy
Justice for Cassidy.
Because they thought Cassidy should have gone up in Fire against Jesse when that has only happened once.
You should never do that.
Well, it happened once, but it was because he came back after being voted out, came back in, Chris Underwood, and the only way he could win is if he took out the biggest threat by Fire. He put himself in Fire, won, and then ended up winning the game after playing only 11 days of 39. It's a rare case, but in his case, that was the only way he could win because he needed to show something. Cassidy didn't need to show something. She earned her way to the end. You should not have to give up immunity to win a game.
It was stupid and it was wrong.
I don't think this jury's going to be bitter. I think this is a group of people. I don't see many people on this season being bitter. I think this is going to be a group of people who are going to respect the game and be likable about it, which is why I think they're going to respect someone who played a better game than Yam Yam, who they like better. I think Yam Yam's going to get some love because they like him, and I really would not be surprised if he did win this season if he makes it to the end. But I have him at 2nd because I just think there's going to be a player who's going to play better than him that I have higher. Who is your number 1? I mean, we know our number 1s at this point, but say your number 1, please.
My number 1 is Danny.
Cool.
I think Danny's
he was my first boot of the merge, I believe, but that's fair.
I think is going to lead on. He's going to very much lead on. What's it called? Come on, brain. On respect. He's going to lean on rank, and the thing is, he's not out there. He's not like in your face. He's from the Bronx, which is why it was so shocking that I was like, oh, he's really not out there for somebody from New York. But what I like a lot about Danny is that I think he's got the right idea where it's your reputation that rules. And in Survivor, your reputation in any CB strategy-based game, your reputation when people are deciding the vote,
the reputation is everything.
Hmm.
He's got the physicality to back it up. He's clearly got experience as a leader to hold it up there. And he's got the age. He's not young. He's earned his way there. And that seems to be what Survivor is built off of at the end. So,
and again, if he's in the merge with Brandon, there are bigger threats he might be able to shield himself by. It's just I just see him and I immediately think as soon as he's vulnerable, they're going to try to get him out. But if he's a good enough player, he'll get out of it.
All right, Dylan, you alluded to it earlier that people all have this opinion.
Not all,
and you don't know why.
But it's like the common.
But so do you.
But then when I went back through it, I was like, she just seems like the winner pick, and I picked Claire. Just because she on paper just feels like the most well-rounded. But I think that just means that she's probably going to go home in the mid-merge position or in the Chanel spot. I don't know. But it just, if I had to bet on someone, it would be Claire or Matthew. And I just decided to put one as the person who misses out right before the finale and one who gets it. It could be flipped. I almost thought about putting Matthew 1 and putting Claire at 2.
He feels
but I just
like such an obvious
if Matthew makes
pick.
it to the end, I think he's going to win. But
I agree.
If he can, I mean, we're talking about it as if we haven't seen the moves.
You got to make it.
You got to make it.
You got to make it past fire to even have a shot at winning. And for me, if someone is able to make it past, anyone who makes it past fire already has a leg up in a jury setting because. I mean, look at what happens.
Well, here's my prediction of how that goes. I predict that Claire wins that final immunity, takes Helen with her, and then Yam Yam beats Matthew and Fire. Because the only person who could beat Matthew and Fire is Yam Yam. That's like his story. And Yam Yam's whole thing is that he was just kind of there, the friendly guy, and at the end he beat him, and that's his one move. And that's not enough to get him the win, but that's enough to get him some respect, and that's how he gets second. So I think Claire's going to kind of mastermind a lot of the end game with Matthew, but then her big move is going to be, I win this immunity. Kind of what Cassie did. Put the best Fire Maker, Gabler, against Jesse, put the best Fire Maker, aka Yam Yam, against Matthew, the clear winner. And I think Yam Yam is going to take him out because Yam Yam is just better at Fire than Matthew. Except I do think Jesse sucked at Fire. I think Matthew's going to be good at Fire. I think it's going to be one of those like really tight ones where Matthew almost wins and then Yam Yam takes it. And then at the end, though, Yam Yam can't articulate why he should win quite as eloquently as Gabler, and the jury's less bitter than they were against Cassidy. So I think the jury's still going to respect Claire, and that's how I have that going. And Helen is like the GOAT, but even then, Helen I think could win. I like Helen a lot more than you did, but I do think that this season is going to be interesting. I like a lot of these people. Yam Yam is the person I'm most excited to watch. Yam Yam, Matthew, and Claire are like the three I'm like, let's go. And Carson, because spoiler alert, not spoiler alert because I don't have kids, but I always said I wanted to name my firstborn Carson.
And
I just love the name Carson. So
shout out CBS. You know what? You guys are doing a great job with diversity.
You are.
You're doing a great job.
Yes.
A lot of racial diversity, a lot of LGBTQ diversity. I think
like they were forced upon. Almost like it wasn't their choice.
Almost like
the Survivor players had to literally go out of their way to make a statement and make a Zoom call to get CBS to pay attention to them.
It's almost like this is the right thing that you should be doing, CBS.
Good job, CBS.
This is the right
this is us congratulating you. Even
Great job.
I don't know if you should take credit for it because I think a lot of the Survivor players get the credit.
Thanks, Survivor players. Thanks for paving the way.
But I do think CBS is following through with that night. I think that's great.
And you know what? It has reflected in the viewership. It has reflected in it, I believe.
Yeah. And we're getting cool winners. We're getting Taylor. We're getting Erica. We're getting Marianne. We're getting Xavier on Big Brother.
Don't say Gabler, though. Don't say Gabler.
Well, he's the antithesis of what this... But then again, even then, he's an unconventional winner. Sure. He is.
He's an awful winner. Don't say it.
But he's an unconventional one. Like, I'd rather have someone like Gabler win than someone who's so, like, clear-cut, same old winner. Like, he's a different winner, and I like that. Any of those three would have been different. Him, Cassie, or Owen. And maybe it'll be Claire. Maybe it'll be Danny. We'll find out. Not tonight. We'll find out who the first boot is tonight, but...
That's our preseason rankings for...
Predict who's airlifted.
Oh, shit.
I think I just had a vibe.
God, I hope it's not Danny.
I have two predictions. Either because he just seems a little bit more unfit than some of the others, Kane, or because it would be the greatest irony. Not greatest, because I don't wish harm on anyone, but if the doctor...
Oh, yeah.
If the doctor gets airlifted. If the doctor's the one who needs the doctors to help him.
I hope that you don't have to edit a fun, like... moment clip of
you saying
I really hope it's not Danny. Every time I say I hope it's not Danny.
But please, if you're commenting on this, please don't spoil because this is going to be a great season to watch and I can't wait, especially because Jeff is so stoked about it. And Jeff did spoil one thing. And it is not anything to do with game, but he did say there's going to be a showmance this season. And,
nice!
And who it's going to be? I'm looking at it. I don't really know. It's
not Jamie.
I think it'd be funny if it was like Carson and Franny, the two like nerds. I would love that, but I don't really know. Jamie?
I really hope not.
What, dude?
I just want her to. Dylan, I want to correctly. I want to correctly call.
Maybe it'll be Claire. I don't know who's married or not. I have to go through, but so I'm not gonna say it yet. But I don't know.
Matthew was married.
Matthew was married. Okay.
Matthew was married.
Maybe Yam-Yam's gonna find love.
Yam-Yam was married.
Yeah.
LGBTQ.
If you notice,
and Yam-Yam.
If you notice, we are not covering Zach's season of The Bachelor. Not the Zach, not season
Who?
Zach, because I think we've kind of made it clear over the past few months on our channel that we're kind of phasing out Bachelor. Not because it's not good. I still enjoy watching it, but I just don't think it lends itself to really complex conversation where Survivor changes week by week, Big Brother changes week by week. Even Big Brother gets a bit mundane at times in terms of like predictability, especially when like live feeds show you what's going to happen and lays out the whole week.
Ooh.
But I think Bachelor.
Keep going.
No, I just think Bachelor.
I have something else to talk
I think
about.
Bachelor in general. It's the same conversation we have every time. It all ends up going back to the producers. So that's why you will not see any more Bachelor content on here unless there's a huge news story about Bachelor that we need to revisit. But I think we're retiring and putting to bed.
When we have the senior Bachelor or Bachelorette, we will be back.
Or celebrity.
Because I will not miss out on covering senior Bachelor.
We'll keep going Dance with the Stars, keep going Big Brother, keep going Survivor. Like those are going to be our big three.
Dylan,
but Bachelor, I think we're going to put it to rest.
Dylan, real quick opinion on Big Brother Canada removing the live feeds.
I did not know that. Okay, so
what Big Brother Canada is doing instead?
Is this to prevent controversial contestants?
That seems to
or is it to prevent spoilers and keep more people watching the actual show?
They haven't really said. It seems to be so. What they're going to do instead is they are going to take things that are basically, if you've ever watched on YouTube highlight clips that Big Brother posts throughout the summer, that is going to be their live feeds. The problem is, for me, Big Brother is the live feeds.
Yeah, like it's the only show where it's not an edited product. You get edited episodes, but it is still.
But the idea is that you are watching,
like Love Island. Yeah.
Like you are Big Brother. You are the person watching them.
It's the antithesis of them.
And so, me personally, and I will be interested to see a lot of people have condemned Big Brother Canada.
Yeah.
And
I think another thing is like they're probably trying to think, well, then if there's like racial slurs or there's bullying, they don't have to show it. But I think that's part of the reason why we rooted for Taylor so much is that we saw the bullying. And I think the stuff we didn't see, the stuff when Paloma walked and they didn't show those live feeds, a lot of people were wondering what happened. And then, it gives opportunity for the studios to create false narratives. And that's what I don't like.
I think that what's going to happen is I think the fan base is going to be able to actually reverse this decision.
Revolt, yeah.
Because you know what, it's just one of those things where you might as well just watch Survivor. You know what I mean? You might as well just watch.
And I think Survivor's
Love
great
Island.
because it is an edited product, and that's why their shows couldn't be more different. Is because Big Brother, you're watching in real time, and that can sometimes make it boring. Because at the beginning of the week, whoever wins HOH, they immediately go to the HOH room and says, "Here's my plan," and then if it happens, it happens. And that's where it can be boring. Where Survivor, it's a lot of backstabs and blindsides and things shift so much into one episode where if you were watching in a live time, it might be a little bit more mundane and boring, but the editors keep you on your toes. Just two different shows. And I prefer Survivor because of that, because of the unknown. Whereas Big Brother by eviction night, we usually know who's going home.
But Big Brother is not Big Brother without a live feed.
Right,
That's
exactly. No, yeah. And I do think, a way to kind of make the best of both worlds, you still have the live feeds, but you do it on a shorter schedule to where it's not every Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. Instead, it's like maybe Monday you do nominations, and then Wednesday you play veto, and Thursday's your eviction. Yeah. And then the next Saturday is the nominations, and then Sunday's veto, and then Tuesday's eviction. Like, it doesn't have to be week by week by week. Instead, it can just be like, just tightened, kind of like Celebrity Big Brother was, so where the evictions are happening quicker, so there's less time to kind of just wallow. Because I think the problem with Big Brother is that in the later part of the season, when everything is just a whole week of just sitting around doing nothing, that's where you see Taylor and Monty being literally so bored they start a showmance just because they're so bored and they really have nothing else to do. To where, especially the end game, if you just speed it up a little bit, because very rarely do we see it after veto, a big change. Once veto ceremony happens, it's kind of clear who's going home, and that rarely changes.
And unless you have like a Dan Giesling, where but not every season has a Dan Giesling.
No, and that's the thing is I think once the veto meeting happens, they all talk that night, and then their decision's made, and then 4 days happen where they're just sitting in a house. You watch them do nothing in the live feeds, and then I hear the cat. And then
that's them
yes.
telling us it's time to go.
It's time to go. So we'll log off in just a second. But like, I just think Big Brother should be fixing the fact that like I think it's too much time between Vito. Hi, Reese.
Hi, you want to come be a guest?
Bring her on.
Everyone, this is Reese. She is
Reese. Look right here.
She's the recipe for reality cat.
She is. She got the recipe for reality. Yeah, it's just one of those things where I the worst part about Big Brother is knowing who's going home and then having to sit for 3 or 4 days and wait. And I think that's the thing is they could just make it tighter because that's why double evictions are so fun. But even that could be a little longer. So it's one of those things where I think you just need a bridge in the middle. But getting rid of live feeds altogether is not good. So please bring it back. I need to watch Big Brother Canada. And Australian Survivor I need to watch too because I heard it's awesome.
Oh, Australian Survivor is popping off right now, I hear.
So yeah, I'm excited to watch this premiere. Who's got the recipe for reality of 2022? Since
Jeff.
Really,
I thought you were going to
I was going to say right now because we don't really know based on interviews. I mean, I'd give it to Yam already, but I'm going to say, hello, sweet pea. I'm going to start sneezing soon. I just say based on 2022, I had like the best year. Gabby Windy, she really recovered well.
Did.
She started Bachelorette, didn't go her way. She got engaged, but then that didn't work. Ends up runner up on Dance with the Stars, and then goes on to headline the Dance with the Stars tour. So Gabby had the best year of reality television because she not only won, she not only came close to winning a show, but she was part of 2 shows, the headliner of one show, and then went on to host the tour of the other. So I'd give Gabby my recipe for reality for 2022.
I think it's Taylor Hale, man.
Wait, can I, before we exit, I'm just going to play this one. My winner pick, which is hilarious because you put her in your bottom 5, is Taylor. I like Taylor. I really like Taylor.
Wow!
She's the person I think is just the most well-rounded going in and seems to be the least threatening of the 2 people that are most well-rounded. Her and Michael are the most well-rounded, but I think Taylor just is going to be able to control her threat level better. I think she's going to be able to get with the girls. I think this is a girl power season, though, so if Taylor and Paloma are the final 2, we're in for a good season because those are our predictions.
Well, I guess...
if Taylor and Paloma are the final 2, and that could be nowhere close to what happened.
All right, I admit when I'm wrong, man.
No, it's just more so
I know,
that
it's hilarious.
The only person who was like the number 1 anti-Taylor was Paloma. Like that just couldn't have.
We couldn't have picked a better. We could not have picked better. I think it's Taylor. History was made, and she just came and tore that shit up, left no crumbs.
Yeah, so check out Recipe for Reality, our past episodes, and subscribe, and check out the Dill Pickle podcast where all these videos will be made. I have to put up all the live stream 24-hour subathon videos onto the podcast, but this one will be available on the podcast Wednesday morning, so you can listen to it if you're listening. Thank you. We're now on podcast, so please subscribe to that podcast. We're on podcast. That's why I'm going to ASMR this shit. But yeah, like please go subscribe to that podcast and subscribe to this feed. We've gotten so many great subscribers from the subathon, and go watch that. Go watch the Harry Potter match. I'm not going to spoil what happened, but Zach had a fun time. I had a fun time. Potter. Yeah, there's nothing much else to say. Pickle Awards, vote for the Pickle Awards because tonight, March 1st, midnight is the end. So by midnight, Pickle Awards voting is closed. Vote, and then we will. I'll tally up the winners, and then they will all film the winners, and then we'll air the Pickle Awards a week from today, next Wednesday, the 8th. That's when the Pickle Awards will be. That's the date I decided on right now. And I have to because we hit 250 subscribers. I have to do a musical concert. Before the Pickle Awards, which is going to be fun. And because we hit 75 subscribers, what are we going to do over the summer?
Well, it is the recipe for reality, and Dylan and I both love to cook. And a reality show that we don't cover on here, but maybe one day we should, is Chopped. And so because we hit 75 subscribers, you lovely people at home over this summer, yeah, it's going to be rough for you. Over the summer, we will be recording an episode of Chopped with yours truly, the 2 gentlemen sitting here.
Not Reese, who's in
2 sneezies, because I'm going to sneeze down.
There's the cat. Yeah, so we will be doing a Chopped cook-off where basically we'll have a panel of judges, maybe your wife, maybe some other friendly faces, maybe some familiar faces, maybe some new faces, maybe. They will put together these baskets for appetizer, entree, dessert, and what we're going to do is we're going to basically have to craft dishes around them using what we got, and just, yeah, there she is. Reese will not be eating our items because some of them will have chocolate.
Watch the podcast.
Yeah, but please check this out. Other episodes and other stuff on the Dill Pickle Movie Network or the Dill Pickle Podcast. You can find me Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter. Anything else for you, Zach?
I'm right there.
And if you're part of Zach's org, don't take anything he said seriously. Like, don't read into anything at all.
Go away.
I'm just kidding. You're all great.
Are you going to share this with them? You should.
Oh,
After the
I've told them that this exists.
After the fact,
we'll
though.
see if it happens. So, I'll plug that really quickly though.
Plug it.
If you're on Facebook, Survivor Game On, it's an ORG. It's tons of fun. I would highly recommend it any day of the week. I'm having a great time. I made Final 7 tonight. We live stream tribals. If we do a challenge live, we live stream it there as well. So you can come and watch me talk. I popped off for the last 2 tribals. It was fun.
Yeah. Can other people like watch the tribals or no?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I gotta watch them.
You can watch
But yeah, if you're in like any of that survival, online, reality, whatever, plug them down there. We want to celebrate reality television here. So like, let us know what you're up to. And if you are one of the contestants who would like to guest ever, we would love to talk to you.
Maybe I'll bring on. Nope, can't say that yet.
We'll talk off air. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. He's got to go to bed.
Good
night. Even though you're getting this in the morning, we're recording this late at night. But thank you guys. Yep, we'll see you.